Full and uncut versions available on Patreon. Check in the description below.
Greetings once again, Pokemaniacs. Duuz-Diz-Din back again with more of the Pokemon Adventures manga, where previously, Lieutenant Surge, who has been doing some work in Kanto, namely keeping an eye on Sabrina, who is trying to heal at Mount Silver after her freezing by Lorelei, as well as keeping up with the Team Rocket activity that is going down over there. Most of the Giovanni loyalists not really gelling with the new regime. This causes Lieutenant Surge to come in contact with the masked man, finding his hideout. Surge is barely able to escape with his life, but during his escape, he comes across some artifacts from Gold and Silver, remembering the masked man taunting him about taking the two boys out. Surge finds evidence to the contrary, going to Morty, the psychic of the region and gym leader, with Morty's senses being able to see that Gold and Silver are somehow being tended to by none other than Entei, the legendary dog Pokemon. Meanwhile, Crystal, fresh off of retraining herself in the technique of capture, comes in contact with none other than Yellow, who has been on a bit of a search herself. You see, ever since her battle with Lance, Yellow sensed a strange energy that seemed to be leading her to Johto, which may have possibly also caused the release or the reawakening of Entei, Suicune, and Raikou. But how is it all connected and why? It seems that the three legendary beasts have their own agenda going forward. And how does it relate to the entities known as Ho-Oh and the mysterious one that Yellow seems to be chasing? Join me as I find out, won't you? Alright, it is volume 12. And this is a great cover page. I like the little theme they're doing of slowly having each protagonist at the forefront. It's some great planning. I really do love it. It does kind of spoil that all of their Pokemon will evolve in this volume, but let's face it, it's Pokemon. Of course they're going to eventually evolve. Gotta get that money shot where you can. And because he's on the cover, now's as good a time as any to reveal my favorite of the starters in Final Evolution, Feraligatr. Love me some Feraligatr. Great Pokemon. So you can see which protagonist I kind of lean towards when it comes to all of this. You get my favorite starter, Final Evolution, and I tend to lean towards you a little bit. Just a little bit. A little biased. I'm calling out my bias right here and now. Alright, let's jump in. Ooh, the masked man and his Delibird. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I've never seen a Delibird more intimidating than this one. Oh, it's DJ Mary. And is she out with her team? Well, she's out and about. Yeah, I see the director. DJ Mary's on the scene. Which, they call her DJ Mary, but she doesn't really play a lot of music. You mostly see her reporting on stuff. Or maybe even my concept of a DJ is a little outdated, huh? Well, she's reporting on the scene saying, "Good afternoon, loyal listeners. This is DJ Mary, broadcasting from the road. We've reached the outskirts of Mahogany Town. The gym can't be far now. It's been a long, hard trek. Let's hear from the director of the Pokemon Association." And the director promptly trips. Oh, right, it's this guy. I kinda didn't recognize him in the new art style. One thing I'll say about the newer art style, it's a little less chibi than before, which I didn't hate the chibi style. It's just that sometimes it was hard to take certain things seriously because it looks so cute. But then again, that's Pokemon in a nutshell. As the director falls, Mary asks, "Are you hurt?" She helps the director off and he says, I don't think so." The producer of the radio station says, Cut, let's retape that intro." Oh, they were playing it up for the scene, huh? Makes sense. You got a lot of cutesy Pokemon around them, too. Got a Cleffa and Igglybuff. The producer goes over to a weird crevasse, saying, "I don't know how we'll get into that gym, though, since it's way down there." Oh, way down where? What the heck is the gym? I don't remember the gym being in a weird location. He calls down, "You okay, Whitney?" And we see Whitney rappelling down thanks to her milk tank. Is Whitney wearing a big poofy jacket while also wearing her short shorts? I'd criticize that, but I know so many girls who are like that. I'll never really understand it. As Whitney rappels down with her milk tank, she says, "Better than okay. And I thought you only brought me along for my looks." I am still not used to this more abrasive Whitney. It really does take me out of the scene sometimes. Hey, not that I mind, but still, dang. Tough as her milk tank. In chapter 143, Irked Igglybuff and curmudgeonly Cleffa. Geez, giving me all these adverbs. As she makes her way down with her milk tank just plopping on behind her, she says, all right, solid ground again. Jesus, why is the gym there? She says, hard to believe someone could even build a gym down in a gorge like this, let alone a gym entirely of ice, so it's an igloo. Ugh. Whitney shivers, saying, brr, cold. Glad this isn't my gym. As Mary and the others make their way down, Whitney says, check it out, Mary. The legendary Sub-Zero gym. Oh, Sub-Zero's in this game. Watch out for his fatality. Whitney says, who'd want to stay here? DJ Mary adds, that's what I'd like to know. The gym leader Price rarely sees anyone. He doesn't even have a phone. You know, I do love the gym leaders in this, but it's still kind of weird that we haven't really been collecting badges. We made such a big deal out of them in the first story arc and even the second one. And yet here, barely a blip. Although we have really been highlighting the gym leaders themselves, so yeah, take it any way I could get it. He doesn't even have a phone. He's old. Whitney busts on in saying, well, just have to be uninvited guests then. Hello, anybody home? Actually, I don't even know why they're visiting like this. Maybe to see if he had an encounter with Suicune too? And he says, hey, it's actually warm in here. The Pokemon Association chairman says, you don't hear me complaining. While the producer says, shouldn't we get started, Mary? Mary, taking off her coat, says, sure thing. She then reports, at long last, we've reached the Mahogany Gym. We're traveling from gym to gym along with the director of the Pokemon Association. Oh, and my old friend Whitney, leader of the Goldenrod Gym. Mr. Director, would you explain the purpose of this mission, please? Yes, please do. The chairman says, my pleasure. Since the legendary Pokemon Suicune has begun challenging gym leaders across the land, our association has been conducting an investigation. From what we've been able to gather, Suicune's next target will most likely be Price, leader of the Mahogany Gym. Whitney says, let's hope not. I think the next target should be the incredibly pretty girl, me. I get it. Because that's how Whitney is usually described. Every gym leader has their tagline. They think it's her being vain. Whereas I feel that the Whitney in the games is a little bit more, how should I say it? She's a bit of a ditz. But she's a sweet girl. The producer says, shh, on set. But as Whitney makes her way off a little bit, she slips down some ice along with her milk tank, screaming. DJ Mary calls out, Whitney, stop. While the producer calls out, just drop. Whitney calls out, believe me, I'd like to. But then everyone else starts to slip as well. Wait, was this the gimmick of the Mahogany Gym? Oh, right. Oh, no. That's right. This was the gimmick of the Mahogany Gym. Oh, where you would slide from, just like in one of those 1Ks. Because Pokemon loved this sliding mechanic. Oh, I forgot. It wasn't bad, though. I don't hate it. It's just, I have bad memories of the mechanic in, I think, Mount Silver. There was one location where it was just, but everyone's a slipping and a sliding, bouncing it from wall to wall. Whitney says the floor, is made of, slippery ice as she slams into each wall. As her milk tank tries to help her, she says, we gotta do something. Mill, stomp. And milk tank does just that, ramming its hooves through the ice, becoming a barrier, keeping everyone from continuing to slide. As Whitney wipes her brow, she says, what kind of booby-trap gym is this? But suddenly, the doors creak open, and Price emerges, flanked by some seal. He says, I thought I heard screaming. I must say, that floor gives visitors a world of trouble. You should be proud of yourselves for finding your way through all that. Here at all, though, I'm sorry I have so many security measures, but, well, the chairman says, wait, you're Price? Whitney says, you mean this shriveled little mummy is a gym leader? No way. DJ Mary says, Whitney, will you shut up? I do love the friendship between Whitney and DJ Mary here. The director scoots over to Price saying, I'm the director of the Pokemon Association. Please accept my apologies for bursting in unannounced. Price says, I'm honored someone went to all the trouble, said the old man in the wheelchair. The producer then asks, but why all the security? Price says, yes, well, we seniors tend to be cautious, even elderly gym leaders. Oh, yes. Something about the older you get, the more paranoid you can get, too. I wouldn't want any hostile intruders on the premises. Whitney thinks to herself, like anyone would bother. Again, I am not used to this snippy Whitney. Price tells them, please, follow me. I'll tell you more over a cup of tea. As they make their way in, they're shocked. The chairman saying, oh, this is incredible. Spotting ice sculptures of various Pokémon. DJ Mary looks on and wonders, saying, is he some kind of professional ice sculptor? Whitney notes he won't get any fame and fortune if he never leaves his gym. While the chairman pets Price's seal, or one of Price's seals, he says, his Pokemon take care of him. They run errands, do shopping, whatever he needs. DJ Mary tells Whitney, look. Whitney asks, what? Oh, as they see a sculpture of Suicune. Whitney says, wait, is that Suicune? She then gives a wry smile to the producer, saying, this proves my point. The producer asks, what do you mean? Whitney arrogantly says, he knows Suicune will never challenge him, so the only way he'll ever see one is to carve it for himself. The producer dismisses her, saying, if you say so. Oh. And then Whitney just grabs the producer by the neck, saying, huh? But something weird. Wait, did the Suicune statue just move? DJ Mary sees this, going, and Whitney turns, saying, what? And that's when Whitney realizes, as the Suicune statue moves, even more so than before, Whitney says, no way. The producer tells her, get back. As the Suicune statue runs off, Whitney asks, how can a statue come to life? DJ Mary says, don't ask me. While the chairman says, I wonder if. The Whitney tells him, while you're wondering, run for your life. Now the chairman says, maybe we've got it all backwards. What if Price fought Suicune already and froze it solid? Much to Whitney's astonishment, DJ Mary says, you mean that's the real Suicune thawing out of that ice? Chairman says, yep, which is such a wild thing. Is that really Suicune? Or is it a construct? When he says, in that case, we'll need a really good trainer to capture it. Suicune, prepare to meet your final challenge. Let's go. As Whitney rushes in with her Pokemon, Suicune comes to a halt. Oh, so it was Whitney's Pokemon. That makes plenty of sense. Igglybuff and Cleffa. Whitney calls out as they corner Suicune. Clef. Buff. He tells Cleffa to use double attack and Igglybuff to use Sweet Kiss, and they do just that, throwing the Suicune for a bit of a loop. As Suicune is dizzy, Whitney says they may be small and cute, but they're powerful. Now, while you're wobbling around, Mill, roll out, and Miltank does just that, rolling right towards Suicune. Whitney saying Mill is even faster than usual on this ice, and no matter how fast Suicune is, it's too dizzy to escape, as Miltank rams right into Suicune, bowling it over. As Whitney cheers, DJ Mary says, you did it! I got the idea. Whitney says, I got the idea from when I went sliding away. Talk about turning adversity into advantage, huh? And I was worried I couldn't handle Suicune, huh? I enter Price with the tea, saying, what's all the racket about? Whitney points to Suicune, saying, take a gander, Pops. But Whitney gasps as Miltank is already down, with Suicune standing over it. Whitney shouting, it can't be. But as Price and Suicune lock eyes, the chairman says, I think you'd better let Price handle this, young lady. Whitney shouts, what can that old geezer do that I can't? The chairman says Price is the most experienced of all the gym leaders, and he is the master of the eternal ice walls. Whitney questions, eternal ice walls? As Price and Suicune stare each other down, enter the radio producer saying, youth versus age versus Suicune. We could make this into a 2-hour special. While DJ Mary adds, anything about the show at a time like this? Damn right! This is ratings gold, baby! Alright, Suicune has entered the chat. But we pick up in this chapter as Price opens his eyes. The chairman thinking Price is an ice-type trainer, so he's an expert in freeze attacks. Whatever he freezes will stay frozen forever, trapped eternally in walls of ice. I mean, well, Suicune seemed to reawaken, so that doesn't seem to be the case. And as Suicune and Price continue to stare each other down, Price, from his wheelchair, taps his stick on the ground. In chapter 144, Savvy Swinub. Oh, it's gonna send out a Swinub, huh? Price says, Suicune has challenged many gym leaders and brought different attacks to bear against each. Versus Claire, once Suicune fooled its opponent with a mirror of ice. Versus Chuck, once Suicune froze water vapor and used Gust to turn the droplets into projectiles. Versus Morty, once Suicune reflected an attack with a mirror coat. Versus Bugsy, once Suicune used Aurora Beam to break the capture net. Versus Janine, Suicune to detect the subtlest weakness in its opponent. And versus Faulkner, and it seems Suicune can even use Bubble Beam to block Pokeballs. Whitney questions, how did you learn all this? Price tells her, but you can't really be interested in an old man's ramblings, so, and he sends out his Swinub. The director shouting, the match is on, as Suicune and the Swinub face off. Whitney, holding onto Price's wheelchair, says, yeah, can I grab a hold of your wheelchair so I don't slip? Price says, be my guest, just don't get in the way. While Whitney says, hey, don't you get in my way. Well, the chairman says, easy, Whitney. Whitney brings back her milk tank along the way as they chase after Suicune. Price saying, we need opposing strategies for its variety of attack. We shall learn from the failure of our predecessors. For instance, Suicune's helm starts to shine. Price saying, judging by the Aurora Beam that gave Bugsy trouble, Suicune's horns glow before the attack is launched. And as Suicune launches the attack, Price and his milk tank just speed out of the way. Man, that wheelchair's got some horsepower. Whitney struggles to hang on as Price says, if you see it coming, you can dodge it. While Whitney says, hey Price, are you sure you have the scoop on all its abilities? Price nods, saying, yep. Whitney, can you send Milk Tank in again? Whitney says, you got it. As Price taps on the ground once again, his Swinub unleashes, Blizzard? Well, Price says, based on the battle with Morty, I'm betting Suicune will use Mirror Cone against Swinub's Powder Snow. So how will you counter that? Whitney says, I've got it. So as Suicune does use Mirror Cone against Swinub's Powder Snow, Milk Tank blocks the hit. As Whitney says, Mill, heal Bell. And Milk Tank heals itself, which, God. Yeah, that was the worst thing about Whitney's milk tank, too. It was either the rollout or the fact that it would heal itself. Price says that'll protect our Pokemon from potential damage. Whitney adds, so Mirror Coat won't be a threat. Price adds, if we anticipate Suicune's attacks, we'll have plenty of time to prepare our own. The chairman says, it looks to me as if Price is enjoying this. While DJ Mary adds, but not as much as Whitney. I actually like having two gym leaders double team for this, and Whitney's actually getting to learn from an elder. As Suicune's at the ready, Price says Suicune's charging again. Looks like the mirror attack Suicune used on Claire. What now? Whitney says, okay, I got this. Mary, let me borrow Smee. DJ Mary says, sure thing. Go, Smee, as Smeargle. Yeah, that's the... I had to remember the name. It rushes in towards Suicune, and as it dashes in, it creates an X on Suicune's horns. Suicune starts blasting around, and then suddenly, there's multiples of Suicune. As Whitney looks around, she says, perfect. Their mirror images will have an X on their right side. An X on the left will mark. And as Whitney looks around, she says, gotcha, the real Suicune. I didn't even know they were ready for Suicune to pull out, what is this, double team? Or is this just a mirror ability? But Price slams his staff on the ground, and Swinub unleashes a massive torrent of ice, freezing Suicune solid. The director says, that freezing blizzard. The producer says it froze Suicune. Director and the chairman. There we go. I'm starting to get their titles mixed up. You have the director and the chairman. Price points towards Suicune saying, now there's no chance of Suicune using Bubble Beam or Gust. Whitney says Suicune is as good as ours. And she sends in her milk tank with a dynamic punch, knocking Suicune over. Whitney says, we did it. Whitney for the win. Now for the capture. Now she throws out a Pokeball. Oh, it goes right through Suicune. Whitney freaks out saying, oh, no. I knocked a hold of Suicune, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. See, now that's the Whitney I'm familiar with. The crybaby. As Milk Tank comes over to console her, DJ Mary examines saying, wait, Whitney, look, this isn't the real Suicune. It's just ice, an ice sculpture. So it was a fake? It was a fake. The director says, what? While the chairman asks, but it was moving. It was fighting. Right. Well, Price says, it's time I explain. Suicune was never here. Since so few find their way here to train with me, I've mastered the art of creating moving ice sculptures. Ice sculptures who can use moves? Jesus, dude! That's who the ice Suicune gets up when he says, you what? Price explains, my ice-type Pokemon thaw and freeze the joints of my sculptures so rapidly that they appear to be moving. Of course, those same Pokemon launched the false Suicune's ice-type attack. Was Suicune using ice attacks? I didn't even realize, huh? So every time he tapped his staff on the ground, okay. I kept wondering about that. He just happened to show up at my regular training time. And well, since Fox Suicune was already starting to move anyway, everyone is still in bewilderment. Price says, I'm sure you can guess that my training to battle Suicune because I fear Suicune may come to challenge me someday. Yes, you heard right. I said fear, not hope, like a gym leader should. As I said, we old folks grow a bit timid, or so he says. That's a bit of a wild thing to be prepared for. There's probably some great footage, though. The team make their way out of the crevasse, with the chairman saying, even against an artificial Suicune, Price's combat skills were magnificent. I have no doubt he'll be able to capture the real thing. DJ Mary adds, absolutely. Though Whitney gets angry saying, hey, what about me? You couldn't have done it without me. Which reminds me, when you edit the tape, leave out the part where I'm crying, okay? The director says, fat chance. The chairman looks back down into the crevasse saying, he's the most knowledgeable gym leader I've ever met. Perhaps the perfect candidate for that special position in the Pokemon League. Special position? Champion? We then cut back to Price, who's making a sculpture of Suicune again, saying, it's been ages since we've had so much fun. Too bad I had to tell that little lie. But what about waiting for Suicune? The truth is, I'm quite certain Suicune will never come to me, and with good reason. Yeah, what's the reason behind that one, Price? Price is listening to a radio that reports, we've got a small craft warning for the Johto area. The whirlpool has developed near the Whirl Islands off Cinnawood. Not much of a surprise, really, right? It's called the Whirl Islands. Large whirlpools have been appearing frequently in that area lately. Boats are advised to avoid the vicinity. I remember those whirlpools. You can get anywhere near those Whirl Islands with all that going on. So I gotta admit, I was never a big fan of the Whirl Islands personally. And in one whirlpool, we see the shadow of Lugia emerge. Which? Lugia, one of my other favorites. Yep, I'm a simp for blue Pokemon apparently, given this lineup here. It just blue's my favorite color, as if you can't tell, right? No, blue is my favorite color, and I always go for water or ice Pokemon. But rule of cool, if the Pokemon is cooler than that, then I go for it. All right, we pick up in the Whirl Island where Gold finally awakened. He struggles to get up, saying, ow, Alaba. Ouch, looks like we're alive. Yeah, like a month or two later, Gold talks to his Apom in chapter 145, saying /surprise. Gold says, my hair's a mess though, which, your hair's always a mess, buddy. But then, isn't it always? Okay, yeah, I should have read that part. As he looks up through the hole in the mountain, he says, now the only question is, where the heck are we? Last I remember, we were at the Lake of Rage fighting the masked man along with... Oh, Silver, where are you? Apom gestures over to the nearby figure, saying, there he is. Is he? No, he's alive. What a relief. And he's awake, too. Silver gets up, saying, I was just resting until you woke up. Oh, there's another one. Got him put in Sneasel. As Silver gets up and Sneasel rushes over to him, he says he probably don't want to move too much yet. We're pretty beat up. We hadn't gotten saved when we did. We'd both be, bold question, saved? By who? Silver doesn't respond, simply thinking, wish I knew. All I remember is that we were drowning after we got hammered by the masked man, until something big and shadowy pulled us through some kind of crater to this place. It warmed us with some kind of flames that came from its body. No ordinary flames either. They were like flames of light. Then suddenly it was gone. Colt says, I vaguely remember having the feeling that someone was watching over me. Silver then looks over to the side, seeing the flames dissipate. He thinks, the flames are gone now. As if We don't need them anymore. Gold questions Silver, saying, what was that? What brought us here? But suddenly, something catches their attention. Oh, what the heck? Are those? Several spiked objects roll towards them. Gold saying, what? What are those? As they start to chase after them, the two boys run with their Pokemon. Gold saying, look out! Ah! The Pokédex will... Oh no, I lost my bag and one of my shoes, which is slowing me down. That means I've got to get help from them. Oh, okay, that was hard to tell, but I guess he just fired out all of his Pokemon with his Q-stick. Silver sends out his Pokemon as well, and they start to go after the spiked creatures. As the Pokemon struggle against them, Silver thinks what happened to the red Gyarados I caught at the lake. Without it, Silver says, too many. And then Crocodile, getting angry, manages to nail one of the spiked objects as it unrolls into a Sand Slash. Silver saying they're all gold, finishes saying Sand Slash. Meanwhile, we see the SS Aqua making its way to the Whirl Islands. One of the seamen, for lack of a better term, says, hey, that's what they're called. Lieutenant Surge, we've reached our destination. Surge comes to the bow saying, perfect. Then thinks to himself, good timing. The sailor says there was something on the news about a big Pokemon migration. Guess we missed it. Surge doesn't listen, thinking the island's topography is exactly like Morty described it. The sailor then says, good thing we unloaded those passengers in Olivine. As Surge looks at Morty's drawing, then brings out his binoculars, he thinks which must mean, but then he sees them coming out of the cave, Gold and Silver. Gold says, we finally ditched them, but why would a bunch of islands wild sand? But Surge calls out, ahoy below! Gold looks up, questioning what now? As we see Lieutenant Surge in his patented Magnemite force field carrier thingy with Gold and Silver shoes and Gold's backpack and hat. Gold says, of course, sure, a floating old guy. Surge says, any of these belong to you? I've got a red Gyarados in this Pokeball. He throws down all of their items to them. Oh, including the scooter that Gold made. He didn't change it back into a skateboard. Gold says, hey, my bag, my shoe, my cap. But Surge says, hold on, you. Not even a thank you? Gold says, oh, right. How can I possibly express my gratitude for the timely return of my precious? Surge says, enough already. I was just joshing you. Why is it that Surge has kind of turned into one of my favorite, gym leaders? Maybe just because the manga has really featured him a lot. Like a lot. I don't need your thanks. I need information. Silver questions from us. Surge says, mate, you went up against the masked man, didn't you? Much to the shock of the boys. Surge says, I want to know everything about that clown. Everything. His team, his Pokemon, his attacks, his strategies, his favorite song. Silver steps forward saying, I'd be happy to tell you, but got a question for you, too. Surge says, shoot. Silver points to the distance, saying, you get here on that ship? Surge turns, saying, sure did. The SS Aqua, fastest ship in Kent. As we see the Aqua being levitated. Surge says, it's flying, my ship. And what's that? And we see, underneath the SS Aqua, carrying the ship that Crystal and Yellow is on, Lugia, the legendary Pokemon. Gold saying, geez, can I get a second to relax? Popping back on his hat. Man, okay. So unlike Pokemon the movie 2000, we throwing hands with Lugia. But that goes for most Pokemon. Sometimes you end up with the legendary who actually wants to help, and then you end up with the one who wants to kill you. Wonder why Lugia's rampaging, though. Is it just because they're in its territory? Or, were the three legendary dogs ready for the birds to go on rampage? Well, as Gold, Crystal, and the fishermen are levitated by Lugia's psychic abilities, Lugia gazes towards the Whirl Island, as well as it also levitating the SS Aqua in chapter 146, Lively Lugia Part 1. As the fisherman screams out, save me, Lieutenant, save me! Gold shouts, it's not just yours. Every ship around here is up in the air. Surge says, is that a Pokemon using confusion? Which, dang, that's some wild confusion. Silver says, with psychic power like that, it's gotta be Lugia. As Lugia inhales, then fires off a massive beam towards where Silver, Gold, and Surge are at. Silver shouts, heads up, as they all dodge out of the way, hitting the ground hard. although Surge is still in the Magnemite barrier. Oh, Magneton barrier. Silver lands gracefully, Surge is protected, and Gold lands right on its posterior. Surge shouts, "It must be the cause of all those whirlpools too. How much power can one Pokemon have?" It's like Mewtwo, but unrestricted. Lugia, still incensed, looks towards the trio on the island, and then, with a flap of its mighty wings, it sends the two ships careening towards them. Jables! Though it falls short, it hits the water, but that causes a massive tidal wave that Gold calls out, while Surge just says, "My ship! You know how much money that cost?" But I can only imagine how much something like that costs. Though Silver brings out his Murkrow and flies off, while Gold questions, "Hey, where are you going?" Silver flies towards Lugia, as Lugia once again inhales and starts firing off several powerful blasts in its direction. I think Silver is just trying to get Lugia away from you guys at this point, while Surge's Magneton managed to, get out of harm's way, levitating him above the tidal wave. Surge has just made it, although someone's hanging on saying, "Thanks for the lift." It's Gold working his way into the barrier and saying, "Not leaving me behind, are you?" So Surge questions, "Can't you get yourself out of here?" Gold waves him off saying, "Sorry, don't have a flying or surfing Pokemon. I'm depending on you." Which, man, Gold, you are really ill-equipped for a situation like this. I do love that we do kind of really point out how detrimental it can be not having Pokemon with specific abilities. I get it. The TM slaves, the HM slaves are never fun, but they are pretty necessary in a lot of situations. Though we kind of got to a point where it's just like, you don't always need it, but I like that restriction though. Like, you had to make sacrifices. Like, you might not want your Pokemon to have these specific moves, but at the same time, you kind of need them. Though Surge shouts, "How did you become my responsibility?" Though Gold shouts, "Ah, look out!" as they almost get hit by one of Lugia's stray blasts. Gold says, "You gotta pay attention if you're gonna save me." Gold sounds like a con man here. Surge just grows angry, but Gold pops on his goggles saying, "I don't know why you're so curious about the masked man, or how you found our stuff, not to mention us, but I always return a favor. You brought me my things, so I'm gonna answer your question. First, we fought the masked man twice." Surge questions, "Twice?" Gold tells him, and there's just one word to describe his whole technique, and that word is ice. Yeah, ice, huh? Isn't that interesting? Ice attacks I've never heard of. He froze that whole lake in seconds. Yeah, advanced ice technique. Surge thinks, "I see. The Gyarados was already frozen when I found it, but he didn't even try to use ice against me. Did he not consider me a threat? Or maybe he was trying to throw you off." That is true. But the thing is, his most advanced and capable technique comes from ice. Yeah, how about that? Gold tells him, "That's all I've got for you now. Sorry. We better deal with this giant Pokemon, or else you're never going to get a second shot at the masked man." Meanwhile, as the ship with Crystal, Yellow, and the fisherman hits the water, they're jostled a little bit. Crystal shouts as she holds on, "What happened?" Fisherman saying, "Yellow, Crystal, you okay?" Yellow looks up saying, That Pokemon, it's the same one. The Pokemon I saw flying over Cersei Island." Yup. No, I did note, it was obviously Lugia. Crystal says, "Oh no." Yellow says it must be the one they said vanished into the western skies after the battle with Lance. Suddenly, there's a beeping from Crystal's bag. She says, "A noise from my bag? My Pokédex is beeping. How come? What function is that?" Yellow says, "Could it be the resonance system?" Crystal questions, "The what?" And I'm questioning that too. Yellow tells her the old Pokédex had one too. When three Pokédexes in the possession of their legitimate owners get close together, they beep, which is weird. Then again, now that I think about it, Ash and Gary had Pokédex. Who else had a Pokédex in the Jimmy? No, there were multiple people who had Pokédex in the anime. We just didn't see them that often until later down the line. It's always hard to tell how important the Pokédex were in the anime, because I don't know if they were really treated as such, but not everyone had one. It's always hard to tell how that works. Yellow shouts, which means there must be two other Pokédex. Look out! as one of Lugia's stray blasts fires towards and destroys the boat, cutting it in half. While the fisherman and Yellow are on one half, the fisherman shouting, "We're sinking!" Yellow spots Crystal on the other half with her bay leaf. Yellow calls out to Crystal, and Crystal, she's kind of hurt hard, and it looks like she's trapped in between part of the boat. Crystal says, "What? My Pokédex? Two others? Professor Oak told me." And we get a flashback. Oak telling her, "Actually, this is only one of 3 Pokédexes I made simultaneously." Crystal questions, "Really? Where are the other 2? Well, Oak says, "To the best of my knowledge, somewhere in Johto." He scratches his head. He's just like, "Kid, I'm not really sure." I really don't feel like getting into it. But as Crystal passes out, Silver is still on his Murkrow facing off with Lugia. He thinks to himself, "Now I understand why so many Sandslash were in that cave. They were all hiding from Lugia. But why is Lugia going berserk? What's wrong?" He then notices Lugia looking at something. He thinks, "Huh?" He looks down thinking, "A boat with passengers?" He releases from his Murkrow and sends out his Crocodile, riding on its back, telling it to go towards the part of boat. Gold then spots the same thing, saying, "You gotta be kidding me. A damsel in distress right below us? Thanks for the ride, old man." Surge says, "Thanks? Who? Hey," he says as Gold just leaps out, which, again, no Pokemon who knows Surf, no flying Pokemon. Don't know what your plan is here, buddy. And he tells his Quilava, "Let's go, Expo," which you fire Pokemon into the water. Okay, whatever, Gold. Yeah. That's just you. Gold, luckily, manages to land on a piece of boat, surfing on it with his Quilava, saying, "Not so different from skating," which I feel like that's an insult to people who surf, but whatever. As he makes his way over to the bit of boat with Crystal on it, he says, "All right then, I'm here to rescue you." As Silver's hand is already gripping Crystal's, much to Gold's bewilderment, Gold shouts, "First at the Tin Tower and now this? Rescuing girls happens to be my calling." The Crystal stirs, waking up, going, "Huh?" She then freaks out, saying, "A pair of delinquents!" As she sees the 2 about to fight, Gold says, "Hey, I risked my neck too." But suddenly, the beeping gets stronger. As all 3 of their Pokédexes all goes off, Crystal thinks to herself, "Oh, these troublemakers are the owners of the other 2 Pokédexes?" Which, dang, Crystal, I didn't know you were this judgmental, but yeah, I mean, she was kind of like that with Yellow, too. Crystal doesn't have a high opinion of most of the dex holders. Then again, actually think about it. You know what? Before you get to know them, yeah, I see that. As the 3 of them are bewildered, Bayleaf greets the half-passed out Quilava, and Crocodile, who's just like, "What the heck?" Oh, it's sad. Bailey's like the only one who's happy about meeting her other friends. Then again, Bayleaf is the most passionate one out of the 3 of them. Quilava was just like, "Gotta get him back." All Crocodile's just like, "Hey, I'm gonna help this kid." They're passionate in their own ways. Gold thinks the 3 Pokédexes and the 3 Pokemon from Elm's lab together again at their own party. If we weren't all about to die, as the boat continues to rock, as more blasts from Lugia go raining down towards them, Gold shouts, "It's happening! It's attacking again!" Their boat is jostled into the water. Well, they're half of a boat. Silver and Gold struggle. Silver saying, "Back off," while Gold says, "You back off." While Crystal is on the side thinking, "These 2 are scary." Though Silver turns away saying, "Come on, let's go, Crocodile." Gold tells him, asks him, "And where do you plan to go? Look, I know we're easy targets here, but check out your Crocodile. It's ready to fight." They're all ready to fight. Oh, dang. As all 3 of the starters are facing off with Lugia, ready to rumble, just like, "Square up! Square up!" Silver turns away saying, "So what if they are?" Gold smugly says, "Listen, it doesn't matter what we think of each other. Let's give our Pokemon a chance." In Chapter 147, Lively Lugia Part 2, all 3 second form starters fire off their attacks towards Lugia, actually managing to deflect one of Lugia's blasts. Though Gold shouts all 3 together, they barely deflected the attack. Silver tells them, "If you'd use your brain instead of letting your emotions run away with you." Though Gold shouts back, "Hey, you're one to talk, you." Though Crystal interrupts saying, "Cut it out now. I can't believe you 2. How could Oak ever have entrusted either of you with a Pokédex? Though, Gold, thinking about the situation, is stopped in his tracks. Although he gets angry, saying, "Who are you to judge me? You're too prissy to understand combat," which, dang, sexist much? Though Crystal says, "Prissy? Prissy? Did you just call me prissy?" And that was a three-way battle. Whereas their Pokemon are willing to work together. The three of them are like, you want to square up? No Pokemon, let's go! Let's go! Lugia continues to fire off into the water wildly, Surge watching on from his barrier, saying, "That's Lugia, all right. But what's that? Some kind of energy beam? There's no sign of an energy buildup, so how? Yeah, what is this beam attack anyway? I think it's a hyper beam. I mean, it sucks in." Though we cut to Yellow and the fishermen struggling on what's left of their part of the boat as it's blown apart by Lugia. Surge says, "That's it. It's attacking with air." Okay, so it is air. Every breath it takes becomes a weapon. Every breath I take, every move I make, every single day, every time I pray, I'll be killing you. Surge says, "Call it a blast of air or arrow blast." Oh, that's arrow blast. Okay. It didn't actually connect. Oh, that looks different than Arrow Blast, though. No, I guess. No, yeah. Because I knew Lugia had some kind of weird beam attack, but I didn't know that was Arrow Blast it was using. Yeah. Looking through the gallery of it, like, yeah, that's Arrow Blast. That's so weird because whenever I'd see it in the games, it didn't look like a beam. Well, most games that I saw it in anyway. Once you hit Generation 7 and 8, it looks a lot more like a beam in the games. Okay, that's why I didn't really recognize it as pure wind. Although, as Lugia fires off towards Surge, it hits one of the Magneton holding up the barrier, meaning that now, well, because that Magneton is incapacitated, the barrier starts to fall apart. Now it's more of a platform than a barrier. Surge says, "Uh-oh, if it nails my Magneton, they'll drop me." But since Lugia's attack is all air, there might be a way to stop it. He looks over to the kids, saying, "Way that red-haired kid must have known from the start." And meanwhile, back with the three Dex holders, Gold shouts, "You want to pull Lugia into the water?" Silver looks up towards Lugia, saying, "Lugia's main attacks are air blasts, but there won't be any air to draw on underwater." Gold questions, "But how do we lure Lugia into the sea?" Which, wait a minute. Actually, thinking about it, yeah, Lugia is mostly psychic flying. Weirdly enough, I've always kind of thought as Lugia as kind of a bit of a water Pokemon, because it always appears out of the sea and stuff. But yeah, it's mostly air-based. I guess because it's the counterpart to Ho-Oh, which is fire type. Dang. That's what always kind of throws me off. Because it's in a bit of a trinity with Lugia, Ho-Oh, and Celebi. So I always thought that Celebi is grass, Ho-Oh is fire. I always thought Lugia was water. But no, it's flying. It's mostly air-based combat and attacks. Dang. Not that it can't use water attacks. It just doesn't really use that many water attacks. Yeah, Dang. It was always kind of there, but I just had that misconception in my mind for the longest time. Gold questions, "But how do we lure Lugia into the sea?" Silver says, "How do you think? Brute force. Batter the head or wings from close range." Gold thinks to himself, close range. It counts me out. I can't get close enough, which Silver knows. Silver turns away, saying, "Too bad you're useless. Again. If you want Crocodile and the others to stick together, you better stay here with them." He calls to his Murkrow, though Crystal says, "Me too, Nati," and she brings out her Natu. Which, man, it keeps being doubled down that, man, Gold, you really should have got a flying Pokemon. But one of the blasts approaches towards Murkrow, and Murkrow notices it. But it seems to just detonate in the air. But that detonation knocks Gold into the water. Silver gets a bit of the rope from what's left of the boat, saying, "Catch," tossing it over to Gold, saying, "Hang on tight." Gold manages to grab a hold as Silver, Croconaut, and Crystal work to get Gold back to them. Silver shouts out, now swim! Silver does his best. Gold does his best, but he looks towards how far he has to go, saying drifting away. But his poke gear goes off. He tells whoever's on the line, listen, I'm kind of busy right now. I'll call you back. But whoever's on the other line says, look behind you. Oh, the fisherman. All right. The fisherman says, remember me? We met at that fishing spot. Gold says, I guess we both like to live dangerously. And I'm like, who could be calling him at a time like this? Right, he messed the fisherman. The fisherman says, at least we find danger wherever we go. Gold questions, so what are you calling about? Fisherman says, something pretty important actually. I thought you might find this useful, but a massive tidal wave comes in, knocking them all into the water. Gold thinks to himself, now what? Polybo can't use surf, and I'm dragging it down. And I've gotten out of worse fixes before, right? There's got to be a way. But then he spots a mantine? Yeah, mantine in the water, doing his best to avoid the attacks. Gold thinks of all Pokemon, and as he tries to swim over to the mantine, he gets one of the diluted but still heavy hits to his back. As he is right over the mantine, he starts to sink into the water thinking, no, too weak, I can't. And as he goes down, the line that Silver and Crystal are struggling with, it's heavier and heavier on them. Silver shouts, what a drag. Okay, Shikamaru. But suddenly, there's a snap, and they're flung backwards. Silver looks towards the rope as Crystal says, oh no, it's been severed. But suddenly, there's a rumbling under the water. Silver shouts, what's that sound? Oh, whoa! What the heck? It's green all over again, I swear to God. Gold comes blasting out of the water with the mantine on his back and a whole bunch of Remoraid. Remoraid firing off water guns in order to propel the mantine through the air. That is absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous. I had to double check. I mean, mantine is water flying, but I'm pretty sure, as far as I can tell, it can't use fly. So, yeah, you know what? Next best thing. As Silver looks on, he says, what in the... Crystal brings out her Pokédex, as she also says, what in the... It's a water and flying type? And it's going after Lugia. Yeah, but I'm pretty sure it can't use fly. Which, I mean, I guess that's what the Remoraid are for, but Jeebus! I love that that Gold is even using some Remoraid on his Q and like a way of balancing. Gold calls out, I gotta hand it to you, fisherman. Those Remoraid are the best medicine I ever got. Miss Priss and that jerk are gonna have to sit and watch me bring this one down all by myself. Let's go! As he races towards Lugia. I mean, that's a lot of Pokemon you got, but I don't even know. I don't even know. Alright, well, regardless, Gold and his makeshift flyer blast towards Lugia. Gold calls out to the Remoraid, quick, veer right and fire! All the Remoraid turn and just unload on Lugia in chapter 148, Lively Lugia part 3, and they blast Lugia towards the water. As Crystal and Silver watch, Crystal is overjoyed saying, yes, yes, but Lugia, he just swings his head and bops them all towards the water. Crystal calling out, oh, Gold tells his Pokemon, brace yourselves for, ooh, and they hit the beach, not the water. Crystal says he fell to the beach, while Silver says, and he didn't even bring Lugia down with, wait, look. What? Yeah. As we see Gold's Q in Lugia's mouth, Silver says he locked Lugia's mouth open. Lugia can't shoot those air blasts anymore. We've got to grab this chance. Crocodile, go! And Crocodile dives into the water, using what's left of the boat to swim Crystal and Silver to the shore. Though Lugia, he ain't done yet as he races towards them. As they hit the beach, Silver, Crystal, and the 3 stars race towards Gold. As Gold gets up, he recalls Mantine. Quilava rushes towards Gold. As the Gold says, well, if it isn't my favorite bystanders, how do you like what I can do with just a little water? Hey, Expo, say hello to our new friend from the sea. Take care of... Ugh, and he just passes out. Well, he slumps down. Crystal asks, are you okay? Gold says, getting dropped onto the sand wasn't actually part of my plan. As Crystal looks after him, but a shadow appears above them. Silver calls out, it's back! as Lugia lands, almost trying to stomp on them. Like, dang. I'm used to Lugia only being vicious, either because it's looking for its baby in that that multi-part episode in the anime, or because it's Dark Lugia. Man, it's Lugia's aggro. But the Dex holders do their best to get out of the way. But Lugia is undeterred and tries to just flatten all three of them in one go with its wings and tail. Oh, but Crocodile, Bayleaf, and Quailava do what they can in order to keep their owners from being crushed. Crystal calls out, "Hold on, Megari." But suddenly, they all start to evolve, much to the shock of Crystal, Gold, and Silver, as well as Lugia. 3 Dex elders say, "No way." All 3 of them are evolving into the final stage at the same time, which that's pretty badass. But still, for Alligator, my boy. So we have Meganium, for Alligator, and Typhlosion, which I always loved that name, Typhlosion. Crystal says, "How is this possible? Megari just evolved into a Bayleaf a little while ago." Which, yeah, we leaped up a whole bunch of levels. While Silver thinks, when Pokemon at similar evolutionary levels hang out together, they get competitive. So competitive it accelerates their growth, which I don't know if that's true. I've heard of that, but I've never actually. Well, Gold says, "Save the explanations for later, after we've brought down this big one." Which is right, because your Pokemon are, though they've evolved into their final forms, they still struggling. Gold calls out, "Tell me something, Silver. You're always blathering on about the vital spots that's the focus of a Pokemon's energy. Lugia's got one too, right? Tell me where and I'll finish this." Silver calls out, "In its forehead, but you've got to hit it just right, between the eyes." Which, dang, gotta get it right between the eyes. Like a sniper shot, man. Gold takes off saying, "Consider it done. Go!" And he fires off his Pokeball and it hits Lugia in the nose. Just boops him right in the nose. Way to go, Gold. Gold says, "No, I can't aim that accurately without my pool cue." But a figure goes racing in front of him as Crystal dives in, saying, "Out of my way," and she kicks the Pokeball right towards Lugia's forehead. As Crystal shouts, "Now!" She hits the spot, and Lugia's taken into the Pokeball, much to the astonishment of the others. Gold's cue landing right down next to it, sticking up. Gold says, "Yes." He pats Crystal on the shoulder, saying, "I take it back, girl. You make Pris seem like a compliment." Which Crystal has a face like, "Thanks?" Like, "Hey, thanks, I guess?" But as Silver picks up the Pokeball, he's shocked. Gold says, "What's your problem?" Silver hands over the Pokeball, saying, "Look for yourself." And much to Gold and Crystal's astonishment, they say, "What? Huh? It's empty. Where'd Lugia go?" And that is where I will end things for now. A good few chapters. It was great having all 3 of them meet and get to know each other and all that. The situation with Price was fun. Finally getting Price after all this time. Like, it's about time. But, Price, he's an interesting dude, and I'll leave it at that. But the interaction between Gold, Silver, and Crystal was absolutely phenomenal. Everything I wanted it to be. Just the weird way they both do and don't work together. There's this animosity, yet when push comes to shove, they can work together, mostly because their Pokemon just easily get in sync. Their Pokemon are just like locked in immediately. It's a weird but fun camaraderie between the 3 of their Pokemon. And that just makes the fact that they don't get along at all even more fascinating. And Lugia, man, oh man, geez. And Lugia, I will say, when I was first introduced to Lugia in the movie 2000, I did feel that Lugia was a bit of an intimidating one. But because of how it acted in that movie, I'm like, okay, Lugia must not be too bad. But in other depictions, Lugia's like just a beast, and it just feels savage. Maybe they're just going off of the way that its face looks, but man, Lugia just comes off an intimidating entity. Like, do not mess with this thing, which is so fun. But I am curious, how did it escape? Did it use teleport? Like, what? Or is there more to it than that? Just have to wait and see. But let me know your thoughts on these chapters in the comment section below. Like, comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the ride. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, I've been Duuz-Diz-Din, and I hope to see you in the next one. Till then, take care. Bye-bye.